Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, I'm going to talk about Elder Scrolls: A Call to Arms by Modiphius Games. So, myself and the brother, we played our first proper games of Elder Scrolls: A Call to Arms, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very fun, exciting, I guess at sometimes maybe a little complicated to learn, but once we sort of started getting into the hang of the game, it definitely came by a lot easier. Maybe that's just, new game. I haven't played an entirely new game in a long time, so maybe that was a little bit of rustiness on me, but I really enjoyed the system. I love Elder Scrolls, the world, the lore, and the narrative, and all that sort of stuff. Massive Skyrim and Oblivion nerd, and Morrowind as well. And even dabbled in Elder Scrolls cool online a little bit. Not really my thing though. I much prefer the MMOs separate from an online game. Anyway, today I want to talk about 10 of my first, I guess, good experiences and things I liked from my first experience of the game. So this is just going to be a list of 10 things I really liked, no particular order, but just some things to look forward to. And of course, we will be covering Elder Scrolls: A Call to Arms on the channel in depth very soon. We'll have battle reports, we'll have getting started videos coming out for different factions within the game. Looking forward to chatting more about this game with you all. So without further ado, let's get cracking in. This is 10 things I liked from my first experience of Elder Scrolls: A Call to Arms by Modiphius Games. So, number one for me, the world feels alive. This was something that I was really excited to see about the game when we played a sort of player versus player, the match play mode of the game. I like how there's random enemy monsters in the game world as well. It feels very much like the game is alive. I mean, it's not just, as we play today, Stormcloaks versus Imperials. We had the Droga roaming about the battlefield as well, causing all manner of problems. This was really exciting. It made for a very interesting game in that we both were trying to not only fight each other, but also fight off these random enemies. And I really like to expand and get more enemies and get more sort of creatures to put on the table. But this was really exciting. It made the game just feel alive. Everything about the world, it just felt like a real sort of world into the game. It was really fun. Number two, dice. There's something to be said, and I know a lot of people maybe don't like the sort of symbols and dice and games having their own specific dice, but I do find it makes the game really easy to pick up when you've got symbols on dices that mean certain things, instead of having to read a number and then search a table and then figure out how that number correlates to the other number your opponent rolled or something like that. This makes it really simple. I like the symbols, you learn them really quick. It reminds me very much of why I maybe enjoyed Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Edition that many didn't in 3rd edition from Fantasy Flight Games, but I really enjoyed the dice system in this. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was very easy to learn and quick to sort of master how that system works. You sort of got the idea of what they all worked on. I also will point out one thing that is really good. As someone who is terribly colorblind, especially red-green, the fact that Modiphius went out of their way to also put pips on the sort of markers so they don't just show a red dice. Red dice have 2 pips on it, and where a green dice has no pips on it, when they're showing like the symbols of what dice to roll, this really made it easy as someone who's colorblind to understand and view the game and read the rules properly. Number 3, I like the objectives and the treasure. In general, the game setup on what we were playing for a match play mission. So how you sort of did this is you put all your tokens to the side, you'd have a certain amount, and then you would place them unknowingly which ones would get placed, but you wouldn't necessarily place all your tokens on the battlefield. This made for a really interesting game, not knowing what whether we'd got any master treasure onto the game field or whether we'd got any of the sort of locked treasures or unlocked treasures onto the game field, where they were, what they were, etc. It really made for an interesting sort of game. I like that sort of mechanic where there could be some, but there also could be these other things, and so you've got this sort of pile of what it could be, and you're trying to whittle it down and see what it could be and what could not be on the table during the course of the game. It was really interesting way. I also like the game setup on how the player who takes the priority in the setup actually doesn't get priority for the first turn, or advantage as they call it in the game. So if you deploy the first objective and you get to deploy more objectives than your opponent, you will actually not get the choice of who goes first in the game. I really like this, so you can set up the board to your advantage, but you will then go second. Number 4, character building. This very much reminded me of playing like games of Warhammer Fantasy back in the day. I loved the character building, being able to equip different weapons to your heroes in the game. I like how just your generic troops like your Imperial soldiers and Stormcloak soldiers and all that have sort of these generic equipment loadouts that they can have, but I really do like how you can really equip and build all these characters how you want them to be. You can, put some magical artifacts on, and it really made the game interesting, I think. And just the sort of how we were building our lists and sort of toying around with different weapons on different characters. I like the spell options for like the mage that we've got. Obviously, we're just playing, or the game we just played was literally like the Imperial and Stormcloak starter sets versus each other, with the Bleak Falls Barrier Draugr as like the wild monsters. It was really fun, like having this as a thing around the game. So I really thoroughly enjoyed the building aspect of the characters. I thought it added a lot of depth, and I can see over the course of me playing the game like this sort of being a really enjoyable thing I can find to do within the game, and really sort of bring those tactical sort of situations out of it. Number 5, universal special rules. I really like games that have universal special rules. Now, I'm a massive fan of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, but one of the things it definitely struggles with, or had at least, maybe up until they started to clean up some of the rules, like ward saves and stuff like that, was it had all these rules that were very similar, but weren't the same. And I just like the uniformity of a bunch of universal special rules in a game. It was really fun to sort of just have this easy to look up guide of, well, what does, I guess, cumbersome do, and just be able to find it, and then we know, well, all these different weapons have cumbersome now, we know what they do. So it was fun, it was simple and well thought out as well. Number 6, Stormcloaks. I really enjoyed playing with them. They were super aggressive on the tabletop, with having like Rayloff pepper some shots from the backfield with his hunting bow while sending forward. The captain there as well, he was an absolute animal with a great weapon on him. He was cleaving everyone in twain. And then the great swords on the Stormcloak warriors, they were just really aggressive and really offensive. I really enjoyed playing them. They were everything I like in a fun army. They just want to get in, get stuck in. It reminds me, playing orcs in so many different games. A nice, fun, aggressive army. Number 7, game size. Now, this is an interesting one, because I feel with how they've got the random monsters on the table while you're also versing each other, the game could have become very cluttered and very crowded. But what they managed to do is keep the game and keep the armies at a very good size to allow that system of the adversaries on the table and the random monsters on the table to sort of work properly, whilst giving you enough forces to sort of play with. We played a 200 Septim game. We probably maybe stacked our characters a little heavy with equipment and stuff like that, but that was fine. It was fun and interesting to sort of play it that way. I look forward to getting some more models to maybe sort of just give us some difference in our warbands and stuff like that, but the game size, I seem to have hit the nail on the head. The game book recommends 200 points as a standard size. I think that's probably right. Maybe 200 to 250, maybe a couple of extra bodies or another hero on the table could be really fun. But I think they've nailed that game size and nailed the ability of it to sort of play well on a decent sized table. 3x3 is what we play 200 points on, which is what's recommended. I think they've hit those sort of game size numbers, and the amount of models, the amount of enemies and all that, really sort of spot on. Number 8, just a little aside, models. They are really nice models. They've really sort of hit the nail on the head and recreated Skyrim really well with all these models they're releasing so far. Can't wait to get more of them. Things like the Dwemer and the Flame Atronachs that we've seen on the channel. That we've seen on Modiphius that have released, plus that dragon and the dragon priest. I really can't wait to have a good solid look at them and just see what else is to come from Modiphius. We've probably got season 3 sometime soon, and the models have just been phenomenal. I've picked up the hard plastic kits. I know a lot of people are really popular with the resin, but I think the hard plastic are just as good as like Games Workshop miniatures, which is no small feat. I mean, that is the leading market there, and they're hitting it like just as good. I find the models are just as good. They take paint just as well. They built just as easy. Really solid work from Modiphius and all the sculptors involved in that game. Done an amazing job with the miniatures. Number 9, turn order and actions. It is vastly important in a skirmish game of something like this that we have alternating activations, and that is exactly what we've got. We've got each model gets 2 actions. It's very similar, in fact, to Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry. We get 2 actions. You can't, however, double up on your actions in this, unlike you can in Warcry. But I really do like, the ability and sort of the tactics behind how you do, of like, do you move in, do you block, do you move in and attack, hope to kill, and then be open for a sort of a trade and a counter attack from your opponent. Is it worth sacrificing yourself for that? I like everything about that whole sort of activation order. It really does add a nice tactical element to the game. I also like the interruptions from the random creatures around the battlefield. Is cool as well. And I like that the actions are wide and varied. You've got a lot of actions you can do in the game, whether blocking, whether aiding, or, all that sort of thing, searching. And it really does make for an interesting sort of game when you've got all those sort of bits and pieces moving with it. And number 10, now this may be because we only had one archer on the table, but even with the hero archer Rayloff, and him having the best bow we had the card for in the hunting bow, besides maybe some of the more higher powered weapons, I felt that the game was very melee dominant, which is what you want. I like being able to get stuck in and do proper fights. I don't like games where you're sort of, especially a fantasy game where you're skirting around the edges, shooting at each other. I think the fact that the game felt melee dominance was really nice. It made for an interesting thing. I mean, we all know in Skyrim that being a sneaky sniper bowman is the best thing to be in Skyrim, but I like that the board game is melee dominant. You're going to get to see those cool melee characters go in and do some fighting. But that's my 10 things of what I've really enjoyed about Elder Scrolls A Call to Arms. If you've played the game, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you like, what you don't like about the game. Can't wait to cover it more on the channel very soon. Well, that's the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to, you can come over and chat more with us here at Sinful Gaming and our fine little community over on Discord. You'll find a link to that Discord in the description of the video. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel via Patreon and YouTube members. And if you'd like to help support the channel via Patreon or YouTube members, you can do so by one of the links in the video's description once again. But a special shout out to all our patrons: Christian Weir, James, Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, and Dynat226. And another special shout out to our YouTube members: Greenridge Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeok, Chris Wallace, Turo12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, Matt Mollin, Becca Kinski Groupie, and the Johnny84. And lastly, a definite special shout out first of all to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and to Xmorphic, who does all the background work for our Discord server, keeping everything there running smoothly, because I am completely computer illiterate. Thank you very much. But that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.